Hey people, Fernando doing another video for more survivalists, and in this case I want to talk about how many rounds you actually need for self-defense. How many rounds would you want to have in your gun as a prepper, as a survivalist? Are both things the same? Are both ways of viewing things similar, or are there some discrepancies that you may want to keep in mind? Now, I've been thinking about these things because I'm translating this book, Surviving the Economic Collapse, my first book. I'm translating it for my Spanish audience. I have a Spanish channel with over 200,000 subscribers, growing community, and they're very much interested in these things because, well, they come from the same place I do and they have the same concerns I've had for many years. So while doing that, while going through that process, I'm reading again after a very long time some of the things I wrote back in the day, which, by the way, I'm 5 reviews away from 1,100 reviews. If you like the book, do leave a review on Amazon. That would be much appreciated. But going back to this topic, as I was reading this, I realized that I was very adamant as of my views regarding how many rounds you need. My idea is that you need a Glock 17, a Glock 19, something similar, 15 round capacity or more. Anything less means you're an idiot. I still feel kind of the same way, to be honest, and I understand that as time goes by, as I grow older, I become more respectful of other people's opinion. But this idea that, oh, I'll never need more than 3 or 4 rounds because statistically that's all you'll ever need, I don't buy that for a second. I get it. It is a statistic. It is useful. You may use that in your preparedness in many other aspects, but when it comes specifically to self-defense and the gun you're carrying, I don't see a whole lot of merit in that, especially because of this, because of what you see here, which at the end of the day means most guns are somewhat kind of the same thing. In the book I explained that back in the day of flintlock pistols, yeah, you had a big broomstick of a gun with a single shot, and if you wanted multiple shots, you had to carry a bunch of those things. So as you have 2 or 3 shots, you had 10 pounds of crap on you. That's no longer the case. And what I feel is that we've been influenced so much by the marketing, by the advertising. Oh, this gun is a little bit smaller, this gun is a little bit lighter, and people end up going with guns that are just, a tiny little bit more compact than the other at the exchange of what? How much ammunition are you losing in that exchange? Look, the Glock 17, which some people will, yes, a full-size service gun, right? Well, it's a lot more lightweight and even more compact than your 1911. I mean, a 1911 is a serious gun with a whole lot of weight and volume to it. This is a lot more concealable and a lot more carryable than your government model. And still, that gun was okay for people that carry it concealed back in the day. You had the more compact versions and so on, but even if you want to go with that, you have your Glock 19 that is just a little bit more compact. I don't really see the point in it. I think that for some people it makes a big difference. For others, there's not a whole lot of difference between going with a 19 or a 17. So why go with less magazine capacity? Why go with less sight radius, which for a lot of people does impact your capability of shooting accurate? As I said, your capability, not the gun. All of the guns you see here are of excellent quality and, still in a mount, they will shoot more accurately than anyone will, especially in combat. But the way in which you shoot it, that's different. And for most people, more sight radius means more accuracy. Now, if you look at places like Argentina, places in South America where many of the folks I address in my Spanish community, they see a level of violence and of crime that is slowly becoming the norm in the United States. But it used to be different. It used to be that back in the day, 3 or 4 organized bad guys, a gang of criminals, 5, 6, even more at a time was not all that uncommon, especially when targeting more isolated residences, country houses, farms or places like that. You would see, or even in the city, I was explaining here that there's been cases scenarios in which they take over a house, in a suburban area. So they do a home invasion, 3, 4, 5 guys, maybe even more. They take over a house and they spend the entire night stealing and breaking into the houses of the rest of that block or that immediate area, and then they take off with the entire loot. So these are things that are not all that common in many parts of the United States. Still getting there, little by little, as this slow slide continues, you see more and more of that. But when you're looking at those cases, then you definitely want to have more magazine capacity, because you're looking at the possibility of fighting against several attackers with high capacity guns themselves. In the days of flintlock pistols and single shots, yeah, that was different. These days, you're looking at a lot more firepower. And you're already at pretty much a disadvantage when going against multiple people. You hopefully have the right gun, you hopefully have the right training, and a good amount of luck on your side. And having said all that, how is it that it compares to other options? I mean, for your .357 revolver, is this something that realistically people carry? I mean, some people do. Is there really a whole lot more of an advantage? Yeah, you have more stopping power in each round of .357 Magnum. No one will argue against that. But, hits are the only thing that matters, and where you hit matters even more. So when you look at modern ammunition in 9mm of quality defensive loads, there's not a whole lot of a difference, especially not compensating for how more the volume that you have here, how less useful it is in terms of modern firearms combat, the kind of training that you do. Most people don't have training with revolvers. If you go to a school, you will have dedicated classes for revolvers only. Don't show up to a pistol class with your revolver. You'll be set apart and explain how that is not a good idea. So all of that just shows us that even though this is great, it hasn't got the same capabilities of something like your autoloader. Now, I have my HKP7 here as an example of a single stack gun, 8 rounds plus 1. Is it decent enough? By far and large, it should be enough for most encounters, for most self-defense situations. Even if your 17 round plus 1 is obviously more, here you have the advantage of a gun that is easier to carry, and of the three, it is by far the most accurate gun in my own hands. As I said, in my hands. For someone else, you may shoot something even better, but I notice quite smaller groups when shooting with this gun, mostly because of the fantastic, incredible single action trigger and the fixed barrel that just gives you that extra bit of accuracy. So it shoots great. And here's where I have to also throw into this equation: how much does it matter to have more capacity compared to having more accuracy in a gun that is probably even a little bit easier to carry, given how slim the profile is? It's a little bit heavy, but with a good belt and a good holster, shouldn't be an issue. But mostly because of how accurate this thing is that something they want to take into account? And when I look at many of the events that we see unfolding, such as active shooter scenarios, terrorist attacks, where you probably have 1 or 2 guys that are a threat, and they're not looking to going for any kind of compromise. They just want to kill as many people as possible. They probably have a long gun, and you want to use range as your advantage. In that case, if I have to go like against a lone gunman with a rifle, and I'm looking at those larger distances, longer distances, probably I want to have this gun, because I know I get noticeably smaller groups. This shoots just fine. This is on another level because of all of these technical aspects that the gun has. But probably in that case, I want to have a gun that gives me the maximum amount of accuracy. Now, a few things that I know I don't want. I don't want any pocket gun. I don't want any mouse gun. I don't even want a snubby revolver, which is super popular. And again, something else that I wrote in my book: people that live in very safe communities, they look at you and say, that never happens here. Well, it never happens until it does. And if there's one thing snubby revolvers are particularly well known for, even though intrinsically accurate, it is a pain in the ass to shoot accurately at longer distances with those short barrels. Yes, I'm sure you do it all the time in the range. Try it when someone's shooting back at you. You want to have everything in your advantage. So, at the end of the day, I think this is still the king of the hill. Your Glock 17, your Glock 19 for some folks, and train a lot, be good with your gun, and avoid going with these compromises, with these feel-good, comfortable things. It's not a pair of panties, as I said in the book as well. It's not like a nice pajama that no, you're looking at a gun. It's a tool so as to defend yourself. It's a tool so as to kill people that want to hurt you back. It's about having the best tool for the job, and compromising in that, I don't think it's ever a great idea. Again, folks, hope you liked the video, and if you do have Surviving the Economic Collapse and you liked it, looking for those 5 reviews in Amazon, that would be a nice milestone to reach in these days. Take care. See you next time.